on, guys? My name is Irvin Angulo, and I would like to welcome you to the Money and Mindset podcast. Today we have Goose Sussi. Goose, how you doing?
Let's go. I'm good.
That was my very first time ever doing an intro.
That's great. That's pretty good.
It wasn't bad.
I'm trying to figure out which camera to look at, though. Is it this one?
This is you.
Perfect.
That's me. This is Center.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Like I told you just before this, the big mission or the big picture behind this is bringing my mentors to people. I always thought that everybody had a mentor or everybody had the opportunity to have these kinds of conversations. And I didn't know that it was a blessing. Like I was just kind of taking it for granted because I've been put in this like beautiful community of church and people always trying to grow me and stretch me, that I took it for granted. And I just, through conversation with friends and family, have now realized not everybody has that. So you get to bless people with everything that you're going to talk about today. So don't take that lightly, and I hope that you have fun doing it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. No, I think mentorship is a huge part of where I am today. I mean, I've always been around families or a boss or a manager that just saw something in me, or people saw something in me. And I can tell that's what people do with you, is they just can see the anointing on your life.
I appreciate that.
And of course, man. But I think that's where like you're now starting to get to the point where it's time for you to start looking out for that too, for other people, right? It is weird. It's so totally weird, dude. Because I feel like, I mean, I'm only 34.
Yeah.
But when I was 18, I thought 34 was old. Like we're on the backside of it, right? But really, like I feel like I'm just getting started today, and it's amazing when you actually like are listening to God and praying to God and just asking for His guidance and wisdom of this, like, who am I supposed to touch? What am I supposed to do? Is my purpose the same? Is it changed a little bit? What do you want? What do you want Goose to do? Right. Yeah. And no, man, I think it's so important to surround yourself with people that one, love you, two, are encouraging, but not in a way of just like they're just a hype man to you. Right.
Right.
Like they can tell you straight. I've got a handful of those guys that just like every time I call them, it's a deposit.
Yeah.
Every time. And then you got those people that every time you call or they call, it's a withdrawal.
Yeah.
Right. So fill your life up with more deposits, people that are actually speaking into your life than people that are like taking and sucking out energy.
That's crazy.
Just
I've never heard it like that.
I heard
so
it.
True.
It is, man. I heard it I always like knew it as just like positive people or negative people. Right.
Yeah.
But there was a guy, I don't remember his name, but I saw it just a couple months ago.
Call him out.
No, I don't remember his name, but he said it that way. He said, I go through my cell phone and my contacts and I put a plus or minus next to their names of when they call, if they're like, but that's being like super hyper aware. Right. And he wasn't saying the fact of like, don't talk to people that are just like, whatever. But he said, do pay attention though, of like what you're getting from certain conversations and how much support and how much, what you're getting out of the conversation, because at the end of the day, like we're all created for a purpose. Right. And if you have too much negativity, if you have too much people that are just constantly taking, it's hard to stay full and become who you were supposed to become. Right.
That's why I was so intentional when I asked you mid-January to go get coffee. I remember I was sitting there praying, wondering who I was going to go talk to. And I saw you and I was like, that's the guy. Wow. Not only because I knew that you would say yes and like tell me to go after it, because you're a big dreamer as well. But because if I went to somebody who wasn't spiritually there or even financially there, they'd think that my dreams or my visions are too big and shut them down. Yeah. So for me to reach out to you and say like, hey dude, can you get coffee with me to kind of just hear this vision I got? And then we did it. And for you to tell me like, why haven't you started? Yeah. It was super encouraging. Obviously you're one of my mentors. This is a question that I like to ask people. Who are your mentors?
I've got a handful. So the ones I go to regularly, love them or hate them, Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
And not in like we get coffee on a daily basis or anything, but a mentor from afar. And that's one thing I think that you need to realize is a mentor to you doesn't have to be somebody that you can physically be with. Like it can be someone you're just watching from a distance. And I am pretty selective of who I allow to speak into my brain, into my heart. Right. Grant Cardone has certain things that I know work because I've used them as far as like money principles and just strategy. Right. But there's things about we believe different things, and that's okay. But I do keep my Christian filters when I'm listening to certain people, right?
Yeah.
I really like Darius. Oh my gosh, what's his last name? He's the lead pastor for Change Church. I really listen to him a lot. He's phenomenal. Yeah. He's a business preacher, a business pastor. And the church is a business, right? It has to run and function like a healthy business for it to grow and to be sustainable. And yes, it has to be Holy Spirit filled, right, and Bible led. But at the same time, like, it does need to operate very similar to business. And a lot of people don't like to hear that or think of church as a business, but it is.
Right.
Like, you go throughout the Bible and you look at the people that helped fund Jesus's ministry. Like, it wasn't just Jesus working overtime to get hazard pay and, you know what I mean? And like fund his own way. Like, he did what he was brought on this earth to do. And there was other people around him that were called to help support the mission. Yeah. Right. But, yeah, those two. And then like locally, Nate Argon, I talk to him very frequently, man. Yeah. He's one who, we have this little rule that like nothing's too big. So like we just dream out. We just talk about these things that just most people would leave. And he tells me all the time, he's like, man, I don't tell anybody this. Why am I telling you this? Yeah. And I'm like, because I don't have a lid. Yeah. Like, it's crazy, man. I have a lid for myself, but I don't have a lid for other people. And that's something that I'm trying to work through too, and just make sure that I'm diligent in prayer and just making sure that I'm truly leaning into who God created me to be. But yeah, it's still a mental game, like even at the level I'm at right now. And by the way, I don't think I've arrived by any stretch of the means at all. Like, I don't think I've arrived at all. I'm not even close to who I'm supposed to be. That. But other people look at you and you're like, oh, you've got the ranch, you've got the nice vehicles, you've got, you're a millionaire. Like, you've got all these things. It's like, and God's not done with me yet.
Yep.
Right. Like, that stuff's all cool. And it was all on the board of what I wanted and everything. But at the end of the day, like, it's not enough in the fact that I know I'm not who God created me to be. So that's what keeps me driven, and I want to just be purposeful and used.
Yeah. And what I love about that is it's not the dollar amount. Like you said, like, you're not trying to achieve this $1 million goal. Like, the way I made this YouTube channel and the content that I'm creating is, you know, make $1 million in a year. Yeah. That's just for the clicks, to be honest with you. That's just for people to click on it, like what I'm doing. But what's underlining is the message. Mm-hmm. Money alone will never satisfy you. Nope. It's not sufficient. Like, it's not enough. Yeah. And what you're saying is, you're not chasing the 50 million, the 100 million, the billion, whatever it might be. You're just chasing what God has planned for you.
Yeah, and that's one thing I heard from Grant Cardone, is he talks about how, like, it's he doesn't care about how much money he has or whatnot. And money is very, very important, by the way. Like, it 100% is. We live on an economic planet. Like, if your money isn't right, it shoots yourself in the foot for a lot of different. You can't, my opinion, if you're just constantly thinking about money and struggling financially, like, how can you truly lean into who God's created you to be if your mind is so occupied on your Verizon bill?
Dang.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if all you are, if and that's the other thing too, man, is like, we ask God for things that fit within our budget and our bank account. Yeah. So we'll ask him for, God, please cover rent this month, versus, God, help me get a mortgage.
Yeah, we put him in a box.
Put him in a tiny little box. Yeah. And he's God. And that's what's so crazy. And I have conversations with Christians and they're like, oh, you shouldn't ask for anything. It's like, why? Yeah. He's God. God already sent the best gift possible, Jesus, for us. Right. Anything else of that, God can do, and it falls so much shorter than that. So you want a Rolls Royce? Yeah, it can happen. You can be a Christian and drive a Rolls Royce, right? But if the only goal is the Rolls Royce and who you think that's going to make you become, or even like how it's going to make you feel inside, like, it's at the end of the day, it's just a vehicle, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. I get super fired up about talking about money, especially because, and that's why I started my company, God Money. Yeah, is nobody teaches us about money. Our environment teaches us about money, and the world teaches us about money. But schools, I don't care what school you go to, has failed dramatically.
100%
with teaching us about money.
And that's counting universities as well.
you learn less in university. And I went to, and I didn't go to the most like Ivy League school by any means, and I quit twice, but like I was there for 5 years, and I was studying business, University of Idaho. Shout out. Played football out there. Quit twice though.
Partied out there. Didn't even play football out there.
I literally went for friends and sports. Yeah. That's what I went to school for. Ever since, I mean, I just love people, right? Like just being with people. But no, man, like nobody teaches you about money. And so now you go through all this education that you spend years learning language arts and things that you can literally Google today. Yeah.
Biology for no reason.
Yeah, and I'm not like bashing education or like school, but anymore today, dude, it's wild. Yeah, what is it? 63% of households live paycheck to paycheck. 57% of people can't even write a check for $1,000.
That's crazy.
In the richest country on the planet.
That's crazy.
That's what Google says, right? Yeah. That's wild. So obviously there's misinformation or bad information. And when I say like the school system's failed us, I don't think it's like the school system's fault necessarily. Right. Like, don't use that as an excuse. YouTube, dude, I can't tell you how many hundreds of hours I have spent watching YouTube videos, trying to self-educate on the topic of just money. Yeah. And before I was a Christian, at 23 years old is when I started to really take a look at how life was going. When you have $4 to your name, you owe everybody money. You got a net worth of negative 30 grand, and you're making $12,500 a year. Your plan's not working. Yeah. It's not that God's not working. It's your plan's not working. Yeah. And so I wasn't living the Christian way at all. True knucklehead, but still like, I've always had these desires for people, right? And to love people. It's so crazy, man. I know we'll probably talk about it later, but my upcoming event, God Money. Dude, I've always had this vision from when I was like in 6th grade of being on a stage, looking out, place is packed, it's dark. I have no idea what I'm even saying or where I am, but it's just like, that's what I was created to be. And I've always had that in the back of my mind. And it was just like revealed to me probably like a year ago when I started actually thinking about like the God Money brand and what it actually meant and what it was going to be for and who it was going to be for. Like I saw that vision again from 6th grade. Wow. And I was like, dude, God is so good. God knows all, right? Yeah. Excuse me. So we're just constantly trying to lean into who's he's created us to be. And like, that's what's so crazy too, man. Like when you truly ask God and have a relationship with God, dude, the sky is the limit because he created it, right? Like there's no way we can outgive God. We can't outthink God. We can't outwork God.
That's right.
But like when you partner up with God, like, dude, you've got an unfair advantage as far as the world looks at you.
That's Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Kobe. But seriously though, man, like it's wild. And yet we're taught, whether we know it or not, like keep God separate from your money. Yeah. Keep God out of the churches, right? And so we wonder why we're so jacked up. So we graduate, right? We spend all this time learning how to, I don't even know what you learn in school anymore, but you spend all this time learning. I don't know. And then you get into the real world and you don't know how to manage your finances. You don't know how to truly earn money. You know how to go get a job, which there's nothing wrong about getting a job. I think you can get extremely rich having a job.
100%.
Just getting the sales. But at the end of the day, like, it's like, what are you called to be? Not everybody's called to be like a CEO. No. I guess you're called to be a CEO of your life. Yeah. Right. And do the best you can. But like, as long as God's running the ship, like if it's God guided, it's God provided. Right. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what vehicle you're in. There's some people that don't have any desire to own their own company, but they want the freedom. Right. Yeah. And I think you can do that if you're in line with what God's calling you to do and calling you to be. Yeah. But,
Pastor Mark Francie,
love him.
He was here at Capital Church here in Boise, and he said, if you are not the employer, you're going to be the employee.
100%.
Now, there's nothing wrong with being the employee. Every employer needs employees, or else, he's going to be his own employee.
Right.
But when he said that, it spoke volumes to me. Because you're right. Not everybody is called to be a CEO. Not everybody's called to be a gazillionaire. Like, not everybody's called to those things. But just because your calling isn't that doesn't mean that you shouldn't actively pursue, generational changes when it comes to finances.
Yeah.
How do you not mix, I guess, like finances and God, or finances and church, in a negative way? Because I feel like that's where some people don't like to talk about money, is church. We avoid it at all costs. Nobody really likes to get into it, because then pastor's asking for too much tithes, pastor's asking for too many offerings. And I don't think that's it. I think you've done a really good job about it, of, talking about God and money, but how do you do it?
It's a great question. Honestly, money is a heart position. Has nothing to do with the amounts. So, and I've heard it multiple times, but like, money only makes you more of what you already are. Dang. So if you're a giving person and you get more money, you're going to give more. Yeah. If you're a greedy, stingy person and you get more money, you're just going to be greedier and stingier. Yeah. So I've always had like this idea of just, it's not mine anyways. Like, it's all God's anyways. God asked for 10%.
Right.
And even that makes Christians roll their eyes. Some Christians roll their eyes because it's like, oh, that's Old Testament stuff. It's like,
we pay more in taxes.
We pay way more in taxes. Yeah. But that's your thing too. Like, in my book I'm writing right now, God Money, I have a chapter in there on just tithing. Yeah. And it talks about how people are like, oh, should you tithe on the gross or tithe on the net? And my answer is both.
Dang.
Because there's certain, and the way that I have come to understand tithing is, if the government gets their cut first, then I'm going to tithe on the net. If I get the money first, then I'm going to tithe on the gross. If I'm a W-2 employee, I don't get to say, hold up, government, let me take out my tithes first. Let me take out the payment to me first, and then you get your part. The government doesn't even trust you to pay them. So they take it from you.
Yep.
So they take their share. Then you're left with what you have literally left to manage. Yeah. Your portion, your take-home pay, your net pay. And so that's what when I was a W-2 employee, that's what I would tithe on, was what I actually took home. Okay. If you don't agree with all this, read your Bible, pray about it. just figure out what God's calling you to do. But to me, it's very clear. 10%, very clear to me. And then if you're like a commission sales, where there's no taxes taken out. There's taxes at the end of the year, like a 1099 contractor, subcontractor, or if you are the true owner of the company, the tax code is written for business owners, not for employees. Right. So we get to, when we make money, we get to take out all of our expenses first, and then whatever's left, I get to pay taxes on that. That's why you hear people like Trump and Elon and Jeff Bezos never pay taxes, because they're in control of how much they show that they actually made. Yeah. And so if you have enough expenses and there's no profit left, how can you pay taxes on no profit?
That's how they do it.
That's why they don't make profits. They buy assets that make them more money. Yeah. So
what does that look like? What does that even mean?
So, okay, great question. So like for me, Kelsey and I, everything we do, we make as much as we possibly can, as much as God's been abled us to make. We try to do that. And then there's a couple different formulas that we've used. 10, 20, 70. 10% is tithed. Okay? 10% goes to tithe. 20% of your income goes to a save to invest account, not a save account. I don't personally have a savings account. Okay. I have a save to invest account. Money in the bank is nothing. Right. Does nobody any good. Right. Dave Ramsey's not going to like that one, but I'm just saying.
I don't like Dave Ramsey.
I like Dave Ramsey, and for most people, Dave Ramsey is on point, because most people can only think of getting to zero. Yeah. Most people can only think about getting out of debt. They can't think of anything further than that. Yeah. And so going back to the education piece, right? Like we are literally taught to just rack up debt, go into debt to go to college,
Right.
Go into debt because you need a nicer car. Go into debt because you need a home now. Go into debt because we're taught to go into debt, right?
Right.
But for the person who has been called for more, and this is where this might rattle some heads a little bit, but I personally don't think it takes any faith to get to zero.
Yeah.
When you're literally at zero, you have this, and anybody I've talked to about his program, I'm not trying to, please hear me out. I'm not trying to beat up Dave at all. I used Dave's program to get me out of debt. I did not use Dave's program to get rich. I did not use Dave's program to build wealth.
Yeah.
I used leverage.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like that. That's okay. He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey's doing fine. But going back to what were we just talking about before Dave Ramsey?
We were talking about God and money,
Yeah.
mixing them together. How do you do it?
Oh.
We're talking about your 10, 20, 70%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 10, 20, 70%. So then 10% is tithe, 20% is save to invest.
Okay.
Okay. And then, excuse me, the 70% is what you get to live off of.
Wow.
So what we did, yeah, you say, wow, but like if you only make 45 grand,
Right.
that's gone quick, right? But that's why you start with a 10, 20, 70 split. And then you move to a 10, 40, 50 split.
Okay.
Okay. So when I first made 100 grand, and my wife and I, we literally kept our living expenses at about 50,000 a year.
Okay.
We were making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we were literally still living off about 50 to 60 grand a year.
Okay.
And so when you are able to go from still give 10%, right? Your tithes. And then now you're saving 40% of your income to save to invest. And then you're living off 50%. You're able to build wealth quicker.
Yeah.
You will make $1 million eventually.
Yeah.
If you just make 50 grand a year, eventually, if you just do the math, you will have made $1 million.
Right.
Right? Not kept $1 million, but you would have made $1 million. So out of that, how much time can you buy back? How much time can you cut from that process? And you either have to raise your income, increase your income, which you should be constantly trying to do anyways, because God gave you another day. He gave you opportunities.
Yep.
You have special abilities that nobody else has. Use that in your marketplace.
Yeah.
Even if it's a job. Anytime an employee comes to me and like, hey, I want to raise, I get excited because it's like, okay, what skill are you willing to add to what you're already doing to help compensate for that?
Yep.
Because we tell people when you come to work for us, you're not capped. No way are you capped. You're hired for this job that pays this. However, if you can bring another skill, if you can take something else off my plate, that to me deserves a raise.
Absolutely. Yep.
But
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. For me, when I think about church, money, God, I have this hard time talking about it because people will shut me down. Why are you thinking about money so much? What are you pursuing? Like, is your heart in the right place? And for me, it's yes. But from their perspective, it's no. I'm focused on the wrong things. Now, for you guys that don't know what I do, I'm a youth director at a church, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm in sales, and I love finances. Now, I don't love money because of what it can do for me, but I love the story that it's going to bring. Generational curses being broken off my family, right? And I've talked about this. But to know where I come from, which is a lack of finances, and to know where I'm heading, which is going to be an abundance of finances, is just, there's no way I'm not going to get there. Not because of what I'm going to buy, not because of the boat, not because of the house, the cars. I could care less about those things. Now, those things are going to be nice, but what I'm after is changing people's lives forever. Like, not giving them $1 million, but bringing new opportunities to the table. This kid that's watching the channel right now, that's looking at you, that's looking at me, that is in a tough situation where they don't have the money, their parents don't have the money, to know where we come from and where we came from and where we're going is going to change his life forever, or her life, whoever it is. So I think that like our job as people, as entrepreneurs, as people leading in church, but also in the business world, it's just to make people fired up about like generational change. Because nothing good comes out of living in lack. What comes good out of living in lack? Have you ever experienced it growing up, 23, $4 to your name? When did you ever have like this moment in lack where you just felt beyond blessed, if ever?
Never. When I wake up.
Yeah.
So that's one thing too, is like people say like, oh, money can't buy you happiness. Well, it buys a lot of things that can make you happy though.
Yeah.
Might not be filled of joy, but it can make you happy. A nice warm house makes you happy.
Absolutely.
A nice car makes you happy.
Yeah.
Right. But again, there's these certain phrases that we've all just adopted as fact and haven't questioned that's why it keeps us away from going after money. But I heard Dr. Miles Monroe say, he said, poor people go for things. No, I'm sorry. Poor people go for money. Rich people go for things. Wealthy people go for purpose.
That's crazy.
And I loved it. And he's like,
say it again.
So poor people go for money. Rich people go for things. And wealthy people go for purpose.
That's crazy.
And I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about people who, like these big hitters, right? Whether they're Christian or not, like a lot of them, what they were truly after was their purpose, like what they were obsessed about, right?
Yeah.
It was like the calling that was placed on them. They just got obsessed and they just went after it. Like Elon Musk, he goes all in every single time.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it doesn't seem, and I guess I can't say because I don't know his actual finances other than billions, but it doesn't seem like he like tiptoes around opportunity. He goes all in.
Right.
And he's confident in who he was created to be and the talents and abilities that he has, that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's already been at zero before.
Yeah.
And that's where I come from. Not Elon Musk, but where I come from is like, I've already been at zero. I know what it's like. And I know how happy I was then. Yeah. I know I still was grateful for my life. Yeah. I know I was still loved. I know I was still chosen, but just my bank account just didn't say it.
Yeah.
So I think so often we look at our actual like worth as a person is a direct reflection of what our bank account is saying. And it's not.
And that's just the world we live in right now.
And that's the world we live in, 100%.
Yeah.
But going back to money isn't the most important thing, but it almost is.
Yeah.
It almost is, because every single thing you do today in one way or another has a direct reflection to money and the amount of money you have.
Yeah.
The vehicle you're driving right now, where you decide to eat, or if you packed a lunch, whose meal you decide to pay for or not.
Yeah.
How much you decide to give on the way or not.
Yeah.
Everything is to do with money. Where you work, right? It was enough, and it was enticing enough where there was something that you liked that financially they're going to pay you something.
Yeah.
But we just have to get a healthier relationship with money.
Yeah.
And if you can go back to the fact that money is just a tool and truly believe it, not just say it, it opens up doors.
Yeah.
If you had 10 shovels in this room right now, 10 shovels, would you care about giving the church one shovel? No. You got 9 more shovels. Yeah. If you put 2 more in the shed for another project later down the road, would you care you only had 7 shovels?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
But yet when we have money, everybody freaks out.
That's your 10, 20, 70 rule right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yep. But when you can truly look at money as an actual tool and nothing else, then it doesn't get your heart, because it's not your master. Yeah. And in the Bible, I forget what scripture it is, but it says you cannot serve 2 masters. And it's deciphering God or money. And I know, I heard Bishop Jakes say, he's like, there's nothing holy about being broke.
Dang.
And I was like, but there's almost this weird, like, it's how you read the Bible, right? Yeah. I'm always reading the Bible looking for abundance, an amazing God, a God who is worth praising.
I love that. That's good.
Rather than trying to figure out what are all the issues I have.
Yeah.
Once you're born again, once you give your life to God, like, God's already cleansed you.
Yep.
Yet we live in this, like, and I'm talking to myself right now because it pops in my mind too, of just like, I go down this rabbit hole of like, well, but I used to do that. And maybe I do have enough. Maybe I'm leaning too into who God's created me to be. Maybe I want too much. But it's like, no, like, I serve God.
Yeah.
Like, God, I don't see God wanting less for you.
Right.
Why in the world would God want less? And it doesn't have to be all about money. Like, money is a very important part, but like, when I started tithing, I didn't become a millionaire the next day.
Right.
I became a millionaire in 5 years. which was a pretty big jump from $4 to my name and a net worth of negative 30 grand.
That $4 to $1 million was 5 years?
I was 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 6 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, this is the other thing crazy too. I always told God, I was like, God, I want to be a millionaire by 30. Made up goal. Yeah. Millionaire by 30. And then I remember my wife and I going into our CPA, our end of the year meeting with him, and he literally was like adding up. We were talking about all the things that we had and the assets and everything, and just adding it all up and then taking it minus all our debt and everything like that. Yeah. And he's like, congratulations, Mr. Sussi, you're a millionaire. I was like, what? And he goes, you're a millionaire on paper, see? And I was like, I thought there was gonna be like a Lamborghini in the garage. Like, I thought there was gonna be like oh jet. Like it was amazing the fact that like I hit it before I was 30. Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah. But then it was so fleeting because it was like, it's not what I thought it was. Yeah. And I need way more than I was thinking to do what I am called to do.
Dang, that's crazy.
And it wasn't just to get a Lamborghini in the garage. It wasn't just to get a jet one day, but it literally was to like, I was only able to be so helpful to the people around me. Wow. And like this kind of stuff helps for sure. Yeah. Like somebody's going to get something from this and hopefully be able to use that and take it and be able to help somebody else later. Yeah. But when you have means, when you have resources, you are able to do so much more than just, this is going to sting a little bit, but just pray for somebody or just give them a coat or something. If you don't even have a coat, how can you give a coat away?
It's true.
Like, and I think God truly uses you through your wallet too. Yeah. Like there's been times where you've probably wanted to or heard like something in your head or something in your heart say, buy that person's meal or give that person X amount of dollars or whatever. And I heard Mark Francie once say, he goes, the devil doesn't say that. The devil doesn't want you saying that stuff.
Are you feeling that right now?
Huh?
Are you feeling that right now?
You want to get, I don't have any, but I brought no cash on purpose. No, I do need to carry cash though. Yeah. Because there are times where that like, I'm not trying to whatever, but like we buy.
No, talk about it. Generosity.
We buy a lot of people's meals just when we're out and about. And I do that because I remember when I couldn't buy my own meal. And I remember, dude, this is how grateful I still am. I'm so far away from filling up my bank or filling my truck up. What I mean by that is I can afford to fill up my truck. Yeah. I can. I've been blessed in that way. I've been smart with my money and my finances. I can fill it up. Yeah. I still to this day, every time I fill it up, I just get this over sensation of how grateful I am. That's awesome. Because there were so many times where I could only put $5 in or $6. Or when I was broke and borrowing my buddy's other car, I didn't have my own vehicle. I don't know if you can still do this, and please don't come get me if this is illegal, but I would purposely leave $2 on a debit card. Yeah. Because when you put it in the gas station in the machine, it only takes $1, and then you fill up your tank, and then it charges you it probably is different now, but that's how it used to be. So I would purposely leave $2 on a debit card. I'd put it in, and I'd be able to get one full tank, and I knew I was going to overdraft.
Life hack.
Yeah, life hack. Yeah, jail hack. But seriously, I remember doing that, and I remember just thinking like, one, you feel horrible as a person, but two, it's like, I don't have any other option. That's not true. I thought I had no other option because I was so focused on money. I wasn't focused on leaning into who God created me to be. I wasn't focused on what things, for I have plans for you, right? Plans to prosper you and plans to, help me out here. What's the rest of that? Jeremiah 29.
You're on your own.
You know the verse though I'm talking about? For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, says the Lord. So I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking I need money. Yeah. Again, poor people think about money.
Rich people think about things. Wealthy people think about purpose.
Purpose.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For you and your story, how often do you have to remind yourself of where you came from? I know I struggle with it. I'm nowhere even near where I want to be. Yeah. But I have to constantly remind myself where I come from, or else I'll disappoint myself with where I am. Because I have like these goals, these aspirations of, being way out there. But I have to constantly remind myself, Irvin, you're 25 years old. 2 years ago, you were making $20,000, $30,000, and you've gone beyond that, far beyond that. Like, how often do you have to remind yourself? That way you don't take things for granted, I guess.
I truly, that is one of the easiest things for me to do, because I know how sensitive it is. Like, if you're listening right now and you're broke, I don't have to tell you you're broke. You know it, right?
That hurts, yeah.
And it does hurt. And the hardest part, and this is where you need faith, the hardest part is wanting all these things, wanting to having all these big dreams and knowing you have $4 left to your name.
Dang.
And feeling like you can't do anything because you don't have the money to do anything, right?
Yeah.
But I'm reminded daily, and going back, like just even simple things of filling my tank up, like stuff like that. And that's where I think it is a healthy flashback.
Yeah.
Because you're right. There's things that there's some people who, once they get out, that's one thing I truly appreciate about Grant Cardone. Whether you like him or not, he does not have to keep doing what he's doing.
Absolutely.
From the world standards, he should have been done a long time ago, meaning he makes what most people would say enough money.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, because he's purpose driven.
Yeah.
Again, whether you like him or not, he's purpose driven.
I love Grant Cardone. Do I love everything he does or says? No.
No.
But that's my case with everybody I know.
Exactly.
I love a lot of people. Do I love everything they think or believe or say? No.
Right.
So yeah, no. I'm with Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
I'm on the train.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your vision of when you were in 6th grade, you were gonna have an event.
Yeah.
I can relate to this. When I was 15, I got a prophetic word, and they told me that I was gonna have an arena filled with people listening to what I had to say. At the time, I thought I was gonna be a pastor.
Really?
I thought I was gonna be a pastor.
Wow.
And so I did interns at the church with the intentions of, and I never vocalized it, of wanting to preach, because I thought that was going to fulfill the prophetic word that was spoken over me. So I was like, okay, that's what it is. As I've gotten older, the desire of wanting to preach, in a sense, has left as far as being a pastor goes, because in everything we do, we're pastors.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older and I've started to fall in love with different things, as far as, this, I now see what that purpose is. Now, mark my words, there is going to be a day where I'm going to speak to thousands upon thousands about finances and Jesus, and it's going to be killer, but you're already doing that. How did you get to that point? What led you to that point? What prayers, what kind of efforts have you gone through to get to where you are? By the way, I applaud you for it. It's crazy. I see the pressure. I feel the pressure for you. That's nuts.
Yeah, thank you. It's all God, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is amazing. Like, there's certain dreams that have been placed in you that are godly desires. And the first goal is touch 1 million people. That's the first goal.
Wow.
Through God Money. And the event we have coming up September 23rd.
God Money's a book.
God Money is a book, but it's my company. God Money is the company, but the book is called God Money. The event is the God Money event.
Okay.
The whole brand is God Money, right? But September 23rd this year, we're going to have a 500-person event with 5 speakers already booked, and tickets are $100, but I want you leaving wishing you would have paid more, because I know how valuable it is. And I truly was debating even charging for it. But it's been my experience that if I don't pay for something, I just take advantage of it.
You're not invested.
And you're not invested. And so it won't be important enough for you to even show up. So $100 is enough to be like committed to it.
Yeah.
But it also allows for great opportunities for giving and stuff too. So no, man, I was telling you before this started, it's one of the scariest things I've done, and it's a very healthy, scary thing. Yeah. Because I know, like, my character, my abilities, who's God's created me to be, like, I have to lean on God for this because I know I can't do it by myself. And so I am having big, bold prayers of God fill the room. Yeah. And I'm anticipating that I was going back between 200 to 500 people.
Okay.
And I was literally on the phone with one of the speakers and getting them booked. Her name's Natalie. She's an amazing person. Her and her husband, Hugo, they're amazing. But she's one of the speakers. And she's like, how many people are you thinking? And I was like, well, it's going to be like 200 or 500 people. And she's like, okay. And I was like, actually, it's going to be 500 because that scares me more than 200 people.
Yeah.
And not scaring like getting in front of that people, but truly filling the room. But I'm not going to fill the room. God's going to fill the room.
That's right.
The Holy Spirit's going to fill the room.
That's right.
I'm not going to fill it. And actually, they even asked if I wanted the ability to do live streaming. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have more than 500 people, but 500 people physically in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So mark your calendar. It's going to be more and more information coming out about it, but mark your calendars for September 23rd.
Yeah. Something I tell my brothers all the time is I never put a cap on God anymore. So like when I'm talking about goals, this YouTube video, like $1 million in 1 year, that's the only goal I've set out for myself.
Yeah.
Like as far as a number goes, I don't put a cap on what God can do anymore.
Yep.
And I can see with your event, you don't have to put a cap on what God's going to do.
Right.
I'm believing there's going to be more than 500.
Let's go.
Like you're going to have people coming in still asking, hey, like, can we still get in? You're going to be 550. Can we still get in? 600. Can we still get in?
I love that, man.
Boise, Idaho needs this event. Young people need this event. I think that people like you need to lead the charge when it comes to money and building wealth.
Thank you, man.
Because like you said, if the world's teaching us, we're going to be taught the wrong way.
Yeah.
I know that I'm driven by generosity. I know you're driven by generosity. With this event coming up, outside of this event, what's your plans after this?
Just keep building the brand. Like God Money is my passion project. So it's literally what I'm working on at nights, throughout the day, thinking about it all the time. Like, and it's because it's so heavy on my heart because I know it's God placed, not just me made up.
Yeah.
But my other companies, I mean, Idaho Sports Bracing, phenomenal opportunity and everything, but my heart's just not there with the braces, but my heart's there for the people. That's why I enjoy doing what we're doing with that. Yeah. But I had a guy actually, he was getting ready to quit and he said, I'm just not passionate about bracing. I'm like, you think I'm passionate about bracing? And he just stopped. He's like, well, yeah, you're the owner. I was like, dude, I love people. Come on. Like I get to love people through this, not braces. Right. Like, yes, we get to take part in the healing of people and helping people out and on a big scale. But at the same time, man, like I don't care about braces. Yeah. I care about people. Yeah. And so whatever you're doing today, like whatever your job is, don't focus on what the job is. Focus on people who you're actually able to interact with, who you're actually able to touch, who you're actually able to help change their day. Yeah. We get so focused on our own little quote unquote boring lives that we forget other people right next to us have the quote unquote boring life. So just smile at them, like give them an encouraging word. Like we make life so much harder than it needs to be because we focus on things that just do not matter. Yeah, absolutely. I tell, again, my little brothers are my business partners. So when I say my little brothers, they're amazing. Yeah, they are amazing. They're awesome. They're awesome. But when we talk about Aqua Exterior Cleaning, which is my business, I always tell them, what do we love to do? We love to make money and we love to serve people. Yeah. Why not do both and get paid at the same time? Yeah, that's cool. Which is what you're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anything else you want to plug before we wrap this thing up? Just got the book. We're working on the book. We're about 20% done with that. So God Money, that goes down. It breaks down exactly how I went from $4 to a multimillionaire and practical steps. That's one thing I'm proud of. And I don't think it's too hypey to talk about practical things, but the book is so stinking practical. Anybody can do it. You don't have to be a believer to read the book and for it to work for you. But if you are a believer and you do actually let God to do his part and you do your part, he accelerates things. Yeah. So that's what the book's about. That should be coming out mid-summer. But the big thing right now is that God Money event coming up September 23rd. We'll be praying about it. Thank you. We'll be praying about it. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we barely even got to get into anything. I know, like you like to get deep, and there's so much still to uncover. We're definitely gonna have to have you back on. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know what you guys thought about Goose. Go give him a follow on his social media, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.